Hello everyone. In this video we're going to talk about the oracle on Philistia, the Philistines, which is at the end of chapter 14. So chapter 13 and 14 are oracle on Babylon, but at the end of chapter 14 we have a different and separate oracle, and that is on Philistia. And we know it's a separate oracle because once again we have the word Massa, oracle, in the first verse. Okay? If you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch the overview video on 13 through 27. All right, let's dive in. 14:28 through 32, oracle concerning Philistia. In the year that King Ahaz died, came this oracle. Oracle Massa. Okay. All right. When did King Ahaz die? This oracle came when King Ahaz died. When did he die? He died in about 715 BC. Okay, 715 BC. What does that mean? You should know 722 is the destruction of the northern kingdom. Okay, fall of Samaria is 722. So King Ahaz died after the fall of Samaria, meaning this oracle is after the fall of Samaria. So Judah has no more buffer on her north, okay? And the next kingdom to be attacked are Judah and Philistia. And let me give you a brief overview of Philistia then. The historical background of Philistia at this time of the year was that you have to understand Philistia was a major, it was a difficult people group for any nation, especially Assyria in this context, to subdue. Philistines were they were strong politically and militarily somewhat, and they were they tried very hard not to be under the rule of Assyria. But at this time, they were already paying tribute to Assyria, meaning they were a vassal state of Assyria. The Philistines didn't like it. So in backtrack in 734, Gath refused to pay tribute to Assyria. Gath is a major city of Philistia, where Goliath is from. So Assyria comes and destroys Gath. 720, Philistine cities are once again conquered because they conspired with Egypt. In this process, Gaza gets destroyed by Assyria. 711, Ashdod leads revolt. Ashdod is another Philistine city, leads a revolt and gets destroyed again. By the way, when they lead revolt, they are not acting on their own. They always have other nations that kind of rise simultaneously so that Assyria would be, they would have multiple enemies on multiple sides. So they're not just the sole actors. In fact, Judah, Hezekiah acts with Philistines in revolting against Assyria. Anyway, 711, Ashdod revolt, they get destroyed. 705, Ashkelon leads revolt and gets destroyed in 701. Once again, oracle is given 715. So the context is, there were two major revolts by the Philistines prior to this oracle, and there are two more destructions of Philistine cities that is to come after the giving of this oracle. So this oracle concerning Philistia is given in the middle of the series of Philistine revolts against Assyria. Verse 29, rejoice not, O Philistia, all of you, that the rod that struck you is broken. For from the serpent's root will come forth an adder, and its fruit will be a flying fiery serpent. So Isaiah is telling Philistia, don't be too happy because the rod that struck you is broken. This rod is probably an Assyrian king that suppressed the revolts that had happened earlier. Don't rejoice just because that ruthless king is destroyed, because its fruit will be a flying fiery serpent. There's going to be an adder that comes forth. So there's this serpent, a Assyrian king that suppressed Philistines. Don't be too happy about it, Philistia, because even though this king that suppressed you guys is dead, another king that is going to rise that will be even more harsh against you guys. Okay? Hence, rejoice not, O Philistia. Verse 30. And the firstborn of the poor will graze, and the needy lie down in safety. But I will kill your root with famine, and your remnant it will slay. Verse 30 is a little obscure because of the first part. And the firstborn of the poor will graze, and the needy lie down in safety. We are a little unsure who this is talking about. The firstborn of the poor will graze. So, firstborn of the poor will be okay. The needy lie down in safety. They're going to be in good place. But I will kill your root with famine. So, we know you refers to Philistia. So, Philistines, I'm going to kill your root with famine, and so on. But who is this firstborn of the poor that's going to graze? Firstborn, the term firstborn, Bekor, is often a term that refers to Judah, a term that often refers to the people of God, because God calls them my firstborn. So, firstborn of the poor, so the poor people in Judah will graze, and the needy lie down in safety. So, these Judeans are going to be okay, but you're going to be destroyed. But I want to point out that the word needy in the ESV translation comes from ava, aleph bet hey, and here it's evionim in the plural. The needy, the ava means to be willing, okay? Because if you're needy, you're willing to do anything, right? So ava really means willing. So in a good sense in the Bible, it's often used to refer to people who are pliant to the will of God, who are willing to do will of God. But in a negative sense, it can also be used in a negative sense to mean to be bent to do the will of others. To be bent to the will of others. So it can be positive or negative, but here it seems like it's referring to those who are, how should I say this? Those who are dependent on God. They are willing to rely on God. The needy, pliant to the will of God, that is going to lie down in safety. So, in other words, verse 14:30 means poor people in Judah are contrasted with the people in Philistia, okay, the mighty ones of Philistia. But those helpless ones, those poor and the needy ones who depend on God, who are pliant to the will of God, are stronger than the powerful ones in Philistia who do not depend on God. Okay? And the firstborn of the poor will graze, the needy lie down in safety, but I will kill your root with famine. That's what it means. Verse 31. Wail, O gate, cry out, O city, melt in fear, O Philistia, all of you, for smoke comes out of the north, and there is no straggle in its rank. Smoke comes out of the north is, Assyria is going to come from the north. So there you see the cities being destroyed and being burned up. Verse 32, what will one answer the messengers of the nation? The Lord has founded Zion, and in her the afflicted of his people find refuge. The last verse is kind of interesting. What will one answer answer the messengers of the nation? The Lord has founded Zion, and in her the afflicted of his people find refuge. So, once again, the historical background is Philistia is constantly plotting revolt against Assyria, and they don't act alone. They constantly send messengers to Judah, whoever the king is, to ask them, hey, join us. Egypt said they're going to back us up, so you'll be fine. Let's just all do this together. We don't want to pay such heavy tribute to Assyria, do we? So they keep sending messengers. So verse 32 kind of hints us there must be some messengers that are sent from Philistia to Judah, and God is saying, tell them, the Lord has founded Zion, and in her the afflicted of his people find refuge. Tell them, the Lord has founded Zion. You need to note here that in Hebrew the word order is swapped. It's Ki Adonai Yechat Zion, meaning the emphasis falls on the Lord. Okay, the Lord has founded Zion. So in other words, it's like the Lord in italics has founded Zion. It is the Lord who has founded Zion, and in her the afflicted of his people find refuge. So because it is the Lord who has founded Zion, we have nothing to worry. Tell them, tell the Philistines, because the Lord is with us, we have nothing to worry. Okay? But of course, the implication is that Philistia has no backup from the Lord. Once again, remember the context of 13 through 27. The oracles of on the nations is really the underlying idea of all these oracles is that these nations are doomed. Judah, you have no reason to depend on them or rely on them seeking security. Trust me instead. Okay, and this is repeated here. One last thing before I wrap up, I want you to remember what I said in Oracle on Babylon, chapters 13 through 14. Remember the structure of the Oracle on Babylon, how Israel is in the middle, randomly, but in the very center of the Oracle, if you look at the structure. 14:1 and 2. Suddenly God talks about restoration of Jacob in the midst of his Oracle about the destruction of Babylon. Once again, here in the Oracle concerning Philistia, we have Israel mentioned in a positive way, as a secure place where the salvation is. And you will see that once again in the next chapter in the oracle concerning Moab, that there's security in Zion. Okay? So once again, read these oracles on nations in the context, in relation to Israel. And remember, Isaiah has arranged these materials to highlight the fact that Israel, though surrounded by the nations and hostile enemies, is secure and is in the center of God's redemptive plan.